Officer Rick Calloway had been on the force for over a decade. In his mind, he knew exactly what criminals looked like, what kind of people deserved his suspicion. And when he saw the black woman in the sleek black Mercedes-Benz rolling through a quiet suburban neighborhood, his instincts kicked in. "Probable cause," he muttered under his breath as he flicked on his sirens. The woman pulled over calmly, as if she had nothing to fear. But Officer Calloway didn't trust that. He stepped out of his cruiser, adjusting his belt, puffing his chest out as he approached the driver's side. The woman lowered her window, revealing sharp, intelligent eyes and a composed expression. She was dressed in a tailored navy blue blazer, a crisp white blouse, and a silver watch that gleamed in the late afternoon sun. "License and registration," Calloway said gruffly. She reached for her purse slowly. "May I ask why I was stopped, officer?" Calloway's jaw tightened. He didn't like when people, especially her kind, questioned him. "You were going 5 miles over the speed limit," he lied. "And your tint looks illegal." The woman sighed. "I wasn't speeding, and my tint is within state regulations." "I know the law, officer." Her calmness irritated him. "Out of the car," he barked. She didn't argue. She simply unbuckled her seatbelt and stepped out. "What's your name?" Calloway asked as he yanked her arm behind her back. She gritted her teeth but didn't resist. "Ava Sinclair." "Sounds fake," Calloway muttered, slapping the cuffs on her wrists. "Excuse me. You people always have something slick to say." Ava's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. She had dealt with this kind of cop before, small-minded, power-hungry, and dangerous. Calloway forced her into the back of his squad car. "You're under arrest for obstruction and resisting." "Resisting?" she scoffed. "You need to be careful, officer. You're making a big mistake." "I don't make mistakes," he sneered. The courtroom showdown. Calloway felt smug when he walked into the courtroom the next morning, thinking he had nailed another one. He imagined how the judge would thank him for keeping the troublemakers off the streets. But when he saw Ava standing at the defendant's table, not in handcuffs, not in a jumpsuit, but in an immaculate charcoal gray suit, his stomach twisted. And when the judge greeted her, his blood ran cold. "Agent Sinclair," the judge said with familiarity. "Are you pressing charges?" "Agent." Calloway's breath hitched. Ava turned, her sharp gaze locking onto him like a predator who had finally cornered its prey. "Yes, Your Honor," she said smoothly. "I'd like to formally file a civil rights violation complaint. Officer Calloway unlawfully detained me, fabricated charges, and used excessive force." Murmurs filled the courtroom. The judge's expression darkened. "I see." Officer Calloway stepped forward. Beads of sweat formed on Calloway's forehead as he shuffled to the podium. "Your Honor, I—" Ava cut him off. "Before you embarrass yourself further, allow me to introduce myself properly." She reached into her blazer and pulled out a gold badge. The letters FBI gleamed under the fluorescent lights. "I'm Special Agent Ava Sinclair with the Department of Justice. I investigate corrupt law enforcement officers." Calloway felt his knees weaken. Ava continued, her voice cold and unwavering. "Last night, I was gathering evidence for an ongoing investigation on racial profiling in local law enforcement. You, Officer Calloway, just helped my case." The judge sighed heavily. "Officer Calloway, based on these allegations and the evidence Agent Sinclair has provided, you are immediately suspended without pay. An internal affairs investigation will begin today." Calloway's vision blurred. His career, his life, was unraveling in front of him. Ava leaned in slightly, just enough for him to hear. "You should have listened." And just like that, the man who thought he was untouchable learned what real power looked like. 1 week later, internal affairs investigation begins. Officer Rick Calloway had spent the last 7 days drowning in his own fear. His badge had been confiscated, his gun stripped from him, and his name plastered across every local news station. "Racist cop suspended after wrongful arrest of FBI agent." The headlines sickened him. He sat in his lawyer's office, gripping the armrests of his chair, his leg bouncing anxiously. Across from him, his attorney, Douglas Kent, flipped through a stack of documents, sighing. "This is bad, Rick." "No kidding," Calloway snapped. I need you to fix this. Kent set down the papers. Ava Sinclair isn't just an FBI agent. She's part of the Civil Rights Division, specializing in rooting out police corruption. She's got friends in high places. Calloway clenched his jaw. So what? You're my lawyer. Do your job. Kent leaned forward. Listen to me, Rick. This isn't just some routine misconduct case. You've been accused of racial profiling, unlawful arrest, excessive force, and civil rights violations. And since you did this to a federal agent, the DOJ isn't just suspending you, they're considering pressing criminal charges. Rick's throat went dry. Criminal charges? Kent nodded. At best, you're looking at termination. At worst, prison. The word sent ice through Calloway's veins. This is a witch hunt, he hissed. I've done nothing wrong. His lawyer scoffed. Oh really? Because Sinclair's legal team has video footage from your body cam, which, surprise, was still on when you arrested her. And guess what? It proves everything she said. Calloway's face paled. Body cam. Kent tossed a flash drive onto the desk. You didn't think to turn it off, did you? Rick grabbed the drive with shaking hands and shoved it into the laptop. A moment later, his own voice filled the room. Sounds fake. You people always have something slick to say. I don't make mistakes. Calloway's stomach churned. His own words had become his downfall. Kent sighed. You've made plenty of mistakes, Rick. And now, they're going to cost you everything. 2 weeks later, the grand jury hearing. The courtroom was packed with reporters, legal experts, and activists. Calloway sat at the defense table, sweat pooling at the back of his neck. Across the room, Ava Sinclair stood tall, her presence commanding, dressed in another crisp, intimidating suit. She wasn't just a witness. She was the prosecutor's star witness. The district attorney, Michael Lawson, approached the bench. He was known for being ruthless in high-profile cases, and this one was no different. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Lawson began, what you will hear today is not just another case of police misconduct. It is a blatant abuse of power by Officer Rick Calloway, an officer who believed he was above the law, who thought he could bully and oppress without consequence. Calloway clenched his fists under the table. Lawson turned toward Ava. Agent Sinclair, please state your full name and occupation for the court. Ava took the stand and adjusted the microphone. My name is Ava Sinclair, Special Agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, assigned to the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division. And can you describe the events that led to your arrest? Ava nodded. I was conducting a private investigation on racial profiling in law enforcement. I was driving within the legal speed limit when Officer Calloway stopped me without cause. When I asked why, he lied, stating I was speeding and that my vehicle tint was illegal. Neither was true. Lawson folded his hands behind his back. What happened next? I asked for clarification, and Officer Calloway became aggressive. He ordered me out of my car without reason, used force to detain me, and fabricated charges. Was your body cam on at the time of the arrest? Ava smirked slightly. Yes. And so was his. Lawson turned to the jury. Let the record show that Officer Calloway's own body cam footage incriminates him. A courtroom clerk wheeled a television into place. The footage began playing. The courtroom fell silent as Calloway's racist comments played out before the jury. You people always have something slick to say.